This is what we need more of as humans. We need to listen more. We don't need to tell more. We need to listen. To quiet the noise. We are no different than each other. We're not different because I look a certain way and then you look a certain way. I have a certain amount of muscle, you don't. It doesn't mean we're different. We all come from the same place. We are all something bigger than just these meat suits. You know, today I drove out to meet someone. I drove out to meet someone because this person is going through a bit of a challenging time. And this person specifically likes to overthink things the same way that I used to. And I'm sure still do sometimes when I don't catch it. And the interesting part is that there was a lot of clutter going on in his head. Lots of external pressures that he puts on himself, internal pressures that he puts on himself, and external from other people. And also running away from fear, running away from the things that we know we need to tend to. And as a byproduct, as a result, reaching towards certain actions that are escapes from confronting these things. And although logically he knows what he needs to do, he gets to the vices before he can sit down and really think about what to do and listen to that voice that we all have. So, what happened was this. We sat, we spoke, but we mostly listened. Not to me. Listen to the voice within all of us. The voice that he heard inside, that observes everything that you do. Observes when you act in a way that you know isn't aligned with your higher self. Now, what is your higher self? You can put it simply as you at your most elevated frequency and state. When you compare that to you at your lowest state and low frequencies, when you were, if you look up the frequency chart, when you were on that low end of the spectrum, shame, depression, and so on. Shame is one of the lowest forms of frequency that you can have. So naturally, if you have something that you're not happy about and there's shame towards it, and you're very scared of confronting that and forgiving yourself, so you escape through vice. You bury the shame and you stuff it down and you carry it around with you. Because there's so much shame around this, you keep going to the vices to avoid the confrontation, and you go down the spiral, down the rabbit hole. And for most people, they do that until they hit a really low low to wake them up. Because they never gave themselves the chance to confront it. They never silenced the noise, the distractions. They never faced what they were scared of. To have the conversation and forgive themselves. This is why forgiveness will set you free of yourself, of your ego. Because there is your higher self and then there is your ego self. The higher self that is full of love, forgives, eternal if you will. And then your ego, which has all the narratives, the stories, the fears, the identification process that's scared of losing its identity. Which is why it runs away from confrontation of the identity. It doesn't want to die, it wants to live. But it's not real. Although it feels real. So we'll sit in there, having conversations with God. Use whatever word you want. And based on your beliefs, God is all. We are part of that. We're not separate. Having the dialogue, realizing that we are no different and we are no separate. And the illusion of separateness is created by the ego. And when you operate from that place of fear, you know you are coming from the ego. And you come from the place of love. None of that exists. Because it's not about you. Because if it's about you, it's the ego having the illusion of separateness that it's only you when it's not. And when it's about love, it's about all. Because we are all. You are all, I am all, we all are all. We're from the same place. Does that make sense? You come from fear or love. Now, what does that mean in this world? It means that if you are operating from fear, you know you are coming from a place of ego. Not that ego is bad, but it's a double-edged sword. Up to your interpretation of what it means. Okay? It can do good for what you deem as good, and it can do bad for what you deem as bad. But if you are coming from fear, you're playing a small game, a game of lack and contraction and low vibrational frequency. If you come from a place of love, you're playing a big game. You are connecting to source, higher frequency. So you can come from those two places. It's an easy filter to use. And I know when I feel very slight uneasiness, I'm coming from fear. It's this very particular feeling, it's a very intuitive feeling that like my intuition catches it. But any sense of fear within me, I know I'm not coming from a place of love. I'm not coming from a place of my higher self, operating at that higher frequency. So whenever I am in these situations, I just simply ask, where am I coming from? And then what would the highest version of myself do right now? And I act from that place. Because there's a constant tug of war between the ego and the separation of the ego. The separation of the ego is, in a way, that sense of enlightenment. But it's very easy to fall back into the world of the ego, which it happens. But you can learn to monitor it. So when you utilize the both, you can use the ego to your advantage to accomplish things in this game of life. But you can also have the perspective of the observer to know when you're falling too far one way. And you'll constantly be in that management state. So we are talking, and I'm not really talking because I know he knows all the answers, and I know you know all the answers. And I know that all you need to do is silence the noise and listen, not to the ego, to that voice, that observer, the higher version of yourself watching and listening. As your ego tries to latch on and control and manipulate. To the keys to silence. And if it helps you, play a game. Have one hand with the sock on. This is your ego, and then this one. Your higher self, God, whatever you like to call it. And have a conversation with each other. The voice that knows best, ego. And see what happens. Carry the dialogue. And don't disrupt that process. See what you take away from that. So remember that this is ego. It's not real. It will fight. It will do everything it can. It doesn't want to die. And no matter what it does, no matter how it tries to run from its deepest fears, it won't win. It's a cover-up. It's confronting, it's scary, but it's a cover-up. And the more you run away, the more you're going to be hit by life. As a wake-up call and a reminder to confront the things you've been running away from. And your higher self will be waiting for that moment. The longer you wait, the longer and more painful it will be. The sooner you can listen, the sooner you'll get aligned with the highest version of yourself. So create space. Don't be afraid of acting when you're afraid. Don't be afraid of confrontation, even the scariest things. Even the things you're most ashamed about. And forgive yourself. Now from this place, listen to this voice. And then do the next step. Whatever that is for you. This is a process. Take as much time as you need and continue the conversations. Between the two. And see what happens. You already know the answers. You don't need me to tell you. It's all love. We're no different. I'll see you in the next one.